What's up, y'all? It's Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show on Social Suplex Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Listener discretion is advised at all times.
Hello and thank you once again for downloading and listening to another episode of the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. I hope you've had a good week, good time with family and friends, and the frolicking social distancing fairies of the world. As you can tell, this is a pre-recorded segment. Decided not to split up the natural conversation flow that we had with the Kiss guys last week, so without further ado, I'm going to bring you back into the final stages of the December Madness Bracketology Best Wrestler of the Last Decade. Hot takes aplenty. Hope you enjoy it. So I'm introducing to you Ricky, as always, and of course Josh and Jeremy from the should-be award-winning ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Enjoy.
Right, so last 16, matchup number 1, we have Tanahashi versus Seth Rollins. I know we've pretty much made a case for every individual, so
for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part.
So if we wanted to, we could just go straight to the picks, and then if there's anyone we haven't spoken about, like sort of Okada and Omega, etc., we can touch on them. But if you want to give your picks as well as your evidence-wise, you can if you want.
I'm going Tanahashi.
I am also going Tanahashi. Too many great matches, too many big moments, too many big main events, too much money drawn, too many titles held.
Oh. Yeah, I would agree though.
Oh well, it doesn't fucking matter what I think then, does
it? Sorry, Clive.
My boy, Seth.
You guys invited the New Japan guys onto your podcast.
Right.
We put
next matchup.
We were fair.
Yeah.
Next matchup, number 2, we have Suzuki taking on Will Ospreay.
For me, I've got to go Will. Suzuki's had a phenomenal decade, and I think maybe the overall stronger decade, but for the years that Will has been active, especially the last 3 years, they eclipse anything that Suzuki has ever done in his entire career. It's just too much. It's easy Will for me, honestly.
Yeah, gonna go with Ospreay as well. Just the incredible matches in Europe, in America, here on the indie scene, in Japan, Australia. Yeah, literally, no matter what continent, country, where he is on the planet, this guy's having phenomenal matches. Regardless of what you think of him as a person, he is a very talented professional wrestler, and he's just going to continue to keep, being at the peak. I mean, he's at the peak right now, and he's going to continue to be at the front of New Japan for probably the next decade as well.
Last year, Will Ospreay had more classic matches in the entire year than a lot of wrestlers, I'm talking like the majority, ever have in their entire career. It was literally, historically speaking, unprecedented.
Yeah.
The only other close comparison that we have since matches started getting recorded is maybe Ric Flair in '85, maybe, and not really.
Yeah, I think that kind of stretch from 2018 to 2019 was excellent. And like I said, there was certainly if not the best wrestler, certainly one of the top 3 or 5 in the last couple of years. I'm going Ospreay as well.
I mean, again, will I just leave this recording and you guys can just I'll be up here.
You like Suzuki a lot?
No, it's not that. I just think Ospreay's a piece of shit. So.
Oh. Well, I mean, I don't like you know the deal with me and Ospreay, right? Where he cussed me out.
Yep.
So I don't like the guy.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about in ring or wrestling careers, not them as a person. That'd be a completely different tournament.
Oh, that could be a fun tournament actually. The biggest
Titus O'Neil wins. Titus O'Neil's the greatest wrestler of the past decade.
Right, next matchup we have Shibata taking on Kevin Owens.
Clive, how about you go first here on this one?
Yeah, go ahead, Clive.
Oh, thanks, gentlemen. That's very kind of you.
Welcome to your podcast.
Aye. As if 2020 hasn't been hard enough, I'm just getting bullied.
Well, I think you're going to be happy with this round.
Well, with this specific pick, I'm going for one of my bays, Kevin Owens.
In this specific round, I'm going for Kevin Owens as well.
I will also go for Mr. Owens / Dean.
See, I always thought you were good guys. I always thought
I can make an argument for Shibata, but I think realistically I need to go Owens.
And Rich also went Kevin Owens.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you already hit him up ahead of time and he already said all.
I've literally, as soon as that first round with you guys was finished, I texted him straight away, messaged him, and he got back to me right away. Right, next up, Pentagon taking on Cena.
Cena.
Yeah, Cena.
And I love Pentagon, but it's Cena.
Oh, that's the next one. Oh my goodness, Daniel Bryan taking on AJ.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, you love yourself some Pentagon.
Clive needs to put in this Pentagon pick.
Put some respect on that man's 6 or 7 dozen different names, please.
Pentagon L0
Pentagon Dark.
Zero Dark 30. I just want to say that Pentagon's great. I understand wholeheartedly why John Cena was picked, but now we have 2 pieces of shit into the quarterfinals.
I mean, Cena's not that bad.
I'm just, you know what I'm like with John Cena.
Here's the thing, Clive. Majority of pro wrestlers are not good people.
Yeah.
So, regardless of who we pick.
That is literally a conversation I feel like I have with people on the internet daily. Is you guys know this is, man. I won't get into it.
Yeah, I've got a hate relationship with Cena. So
my eldest, who's 6, has started watching wrestling, and he obviously wants to know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And he was stunned to find out that, for instance, Seth Rollins is a bad guy, but in real life he's actually pretty good. He was stunned and he was like, but if he's good in real life, why does he keep doing bad things on TV? And I'm like,
why would you? He's only 6, bro. Yeah,
he gets it. No, he gets it. But he also realizes Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are married, but he's like, so why doesn't Becky Lynch try to make him good then? Why does she let him be bad? I would love to be your age again.
Good question.
See, I had to break kayfabe with my daughters because if my wife was going to let them watch it, then they had to know that Nikki Cross and Asuka battering the shit out of each other was staged. So they're fine, they're just playing, they're hurt, but they're still friends, so they had to break kayfabe early doors in this house.
Jeremy came to my showcase show where I debuted as a professional wrestler, I guess, and these 2 sisters wrestled each other. They're twins. Nothing was kayfabe about that match. They were fucking shooting on each other.
Yeah, they were hitting each other pretty hard.
Oh, God.
They were doing Baba's King Road style.
It's like that Battle Royal that Tessa Blanchard was in a few years ago. What was that one again?
Oh yeah, and what's that promote? And Beyond, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Some shit wrestling going on there.
Deonna Purrazzo was laying into her.
Yep.
That's what I do. I lay my shit in.
Right. Matchup number 5. This is a good one. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles.
Oh, man.
It's a really tough one. I understand that, but I will just throw it out there so you guys can have at it. Going Daniel Bryan on this one. Easy pick for me.
Go ahead.
Well, it's an easy pick for me as well, but I can see the arguments for both sides, but I am going for Bryan here. I'm a bigger fan of the Captain Planet stuff more than the Yes Movement. I just thought that was sensational work, and he makes, apart from perhaps Big Cass, he makes even mid-card angles interesting as well, and I don't think that's always been the case with AJ Styles, so I'm going to go for Daniel Bryan.
I'm also going for the American Dragon, Daniel Bryan.
He was pipped.
Telling you, see if we were able to include some of those earlier TNA stuff. Oh well. I honestly, I don't know who I'd have went. I probably would have leant towards Daniel Bryan as well.
Daniel Bryan's going all the way.
So the next one, right, we can all just assume
Daniel Bryan's going to win, whether he wants to or not.
Ciampa versus Okada.
Gotta go with Okada.
Yeah, I'm going Okada. Easy pick up this one.
Yep. Next one, we have... we really don't need to, come on.
I would have picked Okada as well.
Oh. We have... So this is number 7 in this round. We have Hiromu taking on Roman Reigns.
Ooh.
Very interesting. That's an interesting one.
And to fight back, as vengeance for knocking out Charlotte, I'm going for Roman Reigns, purely for the politics involved in the last episode.
Who did we knocked out Johnny Gargano?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I'm going Roman.
Yeah, I also think I'm going Roman too. I mean, you look at just the way. I mean, Roman obviously the face of the promotion, pushed as the very top guy. The WrestleMania stages, some of the programming feuds he's been in. Obviously, I think Hiromu is a way better professional wrestler than he is, and has better matches over the decades. But I still think I have to go with Roman.
Yeah, head to head, I pick Hiromu. Match for match, I pick Hiromu. Who's more interesting? Hiromu. Who dresses better? Hiromu. Who's more handsome? Hiromu. But I'm still going to pick Roman, so I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but I'm picking him.
even with those new veneers that Roman's got, I think he's got a case.
Yeah, he's got that, but I mean, have you seen Hiromu? I mean, he's beautiful.
Roman is also beautiful, though.
No, but I mean, yeah, I would generally. I think the biggest thing that kind of hurts the argument for Hiromu in this case is just I think he got a later start in the decade, honestly, and then it is the fact there's just way more attention or I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but he's the guy in the company.
Right.
Whereas Hiromu's never been the guy in his company.
Right. He's the top guy in the junior division, but he's never been he's never been the Okada, the Tanahashi. He's never been the ace. He's not. I mean, maybe he could get there in the coming years.
People think it's happening. I don't. I think he's going to be a player, but I don't think he'll ever be the guy in the company. To be honest with you.
The last matchup of the round. This is interesting, I think. Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega.
Ooh.
It's an interesting one. I'm going Kenny Omega. I think we can have a debate on this one though, because we haven't really discussed the accolades for Kenny Omega just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or even really Chris Jericho for that matter.
Yeah, they both had kind of easy victories in the last round.
I mean, I think Jericho has had a lot of career renaissances, a lot of great matches and great, characters that he's developed and stuff. I mean, when you look at 2010, he was the Wrestler of the Year, and then in 2019, he was the Wrestler of the Year. And those were the two. 2010 was when he debuted the new, the
Painmaker.
No, 2010.
The
that was the HBK feud.
Yeah.
Yep.
The serious short hair.
Yeah, that character. And then he came back in 2013, reinvented. 2015, went to Japan, did all that stuff. The Painmaker stuff, came to AEW, and I mean he's had fantastic matches along the way and a lot of success at the top. But for me, I just don't think it measures up to what Kenny Omega did over the past decade.
Right. You just look at Kenny's decade, majority of it in Japan. I know a lot of work in DDT, the feud with Kota Ibushi, the team of Ibushi, the Golden Lovers, that teaming and that breaking up, them coming over to New Japan as a team, some stuff they did in the junior tag division there, and then his elevation into the junior division, then eventually elevation to heavyweight, and having literally, star scale breaking matches, the rivalries with Okada, matches with Tanahashi, Naito, his G1 just being absolutely incredible. And now his run at AEW, incredible, 2 years there. Now he's a champion. Ratings are huge right now. A lot of intrigue around what he's doing right now. So yeah, I'm going with cleaner.
Well, maybe I'll take my pick back. Why don't you guys kind of discuss what you think, and I guess I'll kind of decide, because there's a lot there, I guess, between the two of them.
I think Jericho's role in the start of AEW, I think that should be a big factor in this as well. I think they made the right decision, first and foremost, putting the title on him, and I felt like that title run was excellent. I thought what he'd done for the company and helping building him up was excellent as well. Name recognition, his promo stuff, forget about the matches for a moment. And like he says, you kind of forget that HBK ladder match took place in this decade. The great stuff he'd done with Kevin Owens as well. His introduction into New Japan. But then I think you look at the absolute quality of Omega's matches. I like how he's been booked thus far in AEW. They could have, if they really wanted to, just given him the title straight out of the gate, but they didn't. He's been involved in now 2 really good matches with Moxley. Involved in the tag match earlier on in the year as well with the Bucks. So I think when it comes to the actual in-ring product, it's night and day really. There's no debate there. I just feel like the amount of times Jericho's reinvented himself and come back, and it's completely different, completely fresh, and it's gotten so over time and time again, and how big of a part he's played in AEW, I feel like those things make it a hard decision for me. But if I stay true to myself, and I've always said in-ring work ultimately is king, I'm going to have to go Omega.
Well, I think between general performance, the sort of meta pandering that's going on, the politics, just the general not niceness, Jericho has begun to left quite a sour taste in my mouth for the last year or so, to the point where even if it is him being a good heel, it's just not my cup of tea. I think the last truly great match he had was with Kenny Omega in Wrestle Kingdom. That was a phenomenal match. But even though Jericho has not had a great 18 months or so, I think his body of work up until then was exceptional. But I just think Omega's been on a steady rise. and it hasn't really dropped off in popularity. I think and also peaks, I'd say maybe the AEW Championship and the friendship with Kevin Owens was Jericho's biggest peak in this decade, whereas Omega's biggest peak was the Okada match, which was a big, big deal. I'm really unsure.
I think some things that kind of like, I don't know, solidify it for me is like Kenny going to Mexico, winning the title there, being, you know, a big star there, having these great matches, coming to America and becoming a big star here, the tag matches with Adam Page, all the incredible singles matches. He doesn't get credit for this, but he's one of the best empty arena performers of the COVID era, week in and week out on Dynamite, literally having awesome, awesome matches. Over in Japan, I mean, the majority of guys, if you asked who their best opponent was that are current day roster members, it's going to be Kenny Omega. His last few G1s were just, I mean, incredible, classic, you know, level. His title reign was awesome. He was a huge star there, like huge star. And I mean, big star in America, big star in Mexico, big star in Japan. He proved that he can he's proved on many like occasions that he can be a big star. Like when he came over and he wrestled Phoenix, in Northeast Wrestling, they did one of the biggest, New York house show like draws ever outside of WWE. I've got to imagine a lot of the success of All In was the fact that him and Pentagon were wrestling, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not to say that Chris Jericho is not a big star or a big draw, because he clearly is. But I think Kenny Omega is the biggest draw and the biggest star outside of WWE, and kind of secretly has been for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and I just remember we went to a ROH taping at the end of 2017, and the Bucks and Kenny were on the tapings, and you know, it was at the time a rare U.S. appearance for Kenny Omega, and literally just the insane line for Kenny's meet and greet was just absolutely crazy.
Well, they were sold out too, and they had to open up the big room. Right. To accommodate. And
I remember one of the security guard guys, he was like a local indie guy that was working security, and I remember I was with Rich, and we were kind of deciding, are we going to get in the Bucks line first, or are we going to try and get in this, you know, this massive Kenny line? And the guy was like, you want to get in Kenny's line, because you don't know, like, when you will see Kenny Omega again. And, like, still, just the way he talked about Kenny, and just, like, the importance that people were just drawn to him and, like, wanted this chance to meet Kenny because it was just so rare. I don't know. Like, that left an impression on me.
Well, not only that, like, in New Orleans, they did the biggest Ring of Honor house show they'd ever done. It was built off the strength of Kenny Omega against Cody. And then the next year they did Madison Square Garden. And the truth be told, even though he didn't compete on the show, they sold out because of Kenny Omega. Mm. Everyone that bought those tickets thought that they were getting to go see Kenny Omega.
Yeah. I thought we were going to be live for the first U.S. Omega Okada match.
And all those early New Japan big sellouts that they did over in California, those were all Kenny Omega shows that people were paying to go see. Like, and then, the match quality is just so much higher with him. I think it's clear cut. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's definitely Kenny Omega.
Yeah, I think it's crazy just showing how much of a draw he's been without the WWE machine behind him.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's an important thing to remember. Like when we're talking about comparing people who are draws, like you said, when you've got this big machine behind you, I think you need to, bring it down a notch and like compare and like look. Like you said, Omega and the Bucks were so super over and were such a draw, and they never really had any kind of machine behind them.
And I think another thing to think about too is the fact of, we talk about people being the guys. Like in the last decade, yes, if you exclude AEW, I don't really think you can say Jericho was ever the guy in WWE. Yes, never. He had the world title stuff like we talked about with Shawn, but anytime he had like the world title, it was always a secondary kind of thing. He was never the WWE champion. He was never really main eventing pay-per-views, even though that entire run was incredible and stuff he was doing with Shawn, and then coming back and all the surprises and stuff like that. He was never the guy. Even when you look at his last WWE run where he's doing the Festival of Friendship, like, they couldn't even get like a top billing at Mania. That was like one of the opening matches for the U.S. title, almost forgotten about at this point. Kenny, he's been the guy in New Japan. He's been the guy, and he's now AEW. He's been the guy in like DDT. He's been the guy in these promotions. He's the guy in AAA right now as the mega champion.
And also he was on top when the company was doing their highest revenues, highest like attendances that they've ever done in history. So I think, is everyone in agreement we're Kenny Omega? So I think that.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Omega.
All right.
I think if we were basing Jericho's 2000s decade, it'd be a much harder, like much harder. But in terms of the 2010s, Omega, I'll go for Omega. I'm not annoyed that Jericho's lost this one, but it's just I had to have a good think about it.
Plus, you don't like him anymore.
That's true.
He's become the Judas in your mind.
Nicely done.
Right, we're down to the final 8.
Oh, it's getting exciting.
We have matchup number 1, Tanahashi taking on Will Ospreay.
I'm going Hiroshi Tanahashi on this one.
I'm also going to go with the ace.
Oh, thank God for that.
Make that 4. Next up, Kevin Owens versus John Cena.
I think you gotta go Cena.
John Cena. I think it's easy too. I think it's, to be honest, I think it's a miracle. I love Kevin Owens, but I think he got the right pairings to get this far. But I am a little surprised he got this far.
Ricky, come on, be with me. Show some solidarity for your fellow Scot.
Oh my gosh, Clive's powered me tonight.
I mean, look,
the US title open challenge. Remember.
I'm not going to be with you tonight. Fuck you. I'm going John Cena.
Another one bites the dust.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an audio format, but I wish we put the video out there to see the disappointment on Clive's face right now.
Well, I'm recording the Skype, so ladies and gents, if you want to donate some money to the show notes, and the link in the show notes, I'll put up a clip of me looking so despondent and dejected. That fucking John Cena and his inspirational tweet quote prick face arsehole.
Hey, Cena follows me on Twitter.
Cena's got an incredible Instagram game. His stuff is so, like, weird and, like, random. It's great. He's a troll.
I've never saw one on Instagram.
You lot are trolls. That's what's going on here.
Oh, man.
Listen, this guy, for all we know, may make it to the final.
All right.
Right. Matchup number 3. We have Daniel Bryan versus Okada.
All right. Tough. This is a really tough one. Now we're really in the weeds here.
Man.
What happened to It's Okada as your reasoning?
But it's Daniel Bryan.
But it's Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. It's the American Dragon.
I'm just going to put this out there. Yes, Okada has put on some fantastic matches, but personally I've preferred some more, not many, but some more of Daniel Bryan's matches. So
here's one thing I will say.
I'm going for Daniel Bryan. On you go, Joshua.
In this decade, Okada's had 3 title reigns that most performers can only dream of. In terms of length, in terms of defenses, in terms of quality of matches, in terms of houses drawn. Literally legendary.
Who's this, sorry? Okada, right.
One
of them in particular was, like, exemplary.
There was two that are extremely exemplary. The one that went for almost 2 years, but then let me look at him real quick, actually.
Well, while he's looking that up, I think I'm leaning towards Okada, just because similar argument that I made with in the Jericho Omega thing. It's like Okada has been the guy, the face of the promotion for the last decade. You look at Daniel Bryan, even with the Yes Movement, that was begrudgingly WWE being forced to go with Daniel Bryan, and then even then it got cut short because of the injury. And ever since then, like, yes, Daniel Bryan's had great rules, but he's never really been the guy, the top star. He's always kind of, even with as great as Kofi Mania was, that wasn't the main event of WrestleMania, and that wasn't like considered like the top program going into that show, from a booking perspective, from a Vince McMahon perspective. So I think the booking of Daniel Bryan, as far as not being portrayed as like a top money star, kind of hurts him here, and I think that's why I'm going to go with Okada.
But you have to take into account that Okada was doing some Scotty 2 Hottie cosplay for a long time. With his
broken Okada.
I think.
So,
yes.
Here's some facts. Okada held the title 5 times over the course of the decade and held it for a combined 1,790 days with 30 title defenses, which is the most title defenses ever for any IWGP champion ever in history. The big reign that stands out, though, was his, let me take a look here.
2017.
It was his 4th reign from June of 2016 to June of 2018. So it was literally 2 years, 720 days. He had 14 title defenses in that time, and it was classic. I mean, he he beat Naito for the title. He beat Marufuji. He beat Kenny Omega. He beat Minoru Suzuki, Katsuyori Shibata, Bad Luck Fale, Kenny Omega, Cody, Evil, Naito, Sonata, Zack Sabre Jr., Tanahashi. Most of these matches were in the close to 5-star range or more. It is considered maybe one of, if not the greatest single title reign in history, and that's a 2-year period. I mean, I hate to do it, but I am going with Okada over Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
I think I'm probably going to go Okada as well. Just to piggyback off what Jeremy says, like, this guy's been the guy for so long, and I think what really hurts Daniel Bryan here is, in terms of match quality, like, both guys have been involved in great matches. Daniel Bryan's some great moments, but I think the time off and the injuries catch up with him in this matchup. I think if we got a fully healthy Daniel Bryan throughout this decade and he didn't miss large chunks of it, I think it would be a hell of a lot closer, and we might end up going with Daniel Bryan. But I think for those 2 reasons, I'm going to go for Okada.
That is one of the few things when I was considering who I thought was the WWE wrestler of the decade, just in general, not related to this. I had to go Cena, and a lot of people went Bryan, but I think that all the injuries and the time off and everything kind of hurt that argument, and I think it hurts his argument in this case as well.
Last matchup, this is interesting.
Oh, so we're decided it's Okada?
Have you picked Jeremy?
Yeah, I won't.
Okay. Well, Daniel Bryan, you did well. I'm not overly annoyed with this one, but I think Daniel Bryan, I mean, he took away Brock Lesnar. Who else did they beat?
AJ,
that's some stiff competition.
Yeah. Trust me, I love Daniel Bryan. Like, he's been one of my favorite wrestlers over the last decade. Loved his stuff in ROH and love everything he's been doing for the most part in WWE. And
I would consider myself more a Bryan fan than a Okada fan.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, Lord. Last matchup of this round. Roman Reigns, Kenny Omega.
Oh, man. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that would be a fun
Definitely.
matchup.
I would love to see, and it's kind of stealing Carl's dream matchup, Okada versus Roman.
Yes, that would be excellent.
I don't care where that is. I'd love to see that.
How about you guys go first on this one?
All right.
Like, I think both have been involved in, like, super great matches. I think Kenny's obviously been involved in, you would say his matches stick out more. I hate the argument that I just saw it on Twitter, and I think Omega replied to someone saying you're only the champion right now because you're the EVP or whatever it is, and he was like, yeah, because I wasn't like the star or the main guy in every other promotion I've been in, kind of thing. I think that holds a lot of weight, but Roman's been the guy.
He's a big dog.
and I hate to say it because like it's not really, it's true, but at the same time it's like, well, it depends how you look at it. He's the guy in the biggest wrestling company in the world. So like I think that's hard to look past as well. I know he's been involved in all these WrestleMania main events and Royal Rumbles, but Kenny's also main evented Wrestle Kingdoms as well. Been involved in one of the best trilogies you'll ever see, in three of the greatest matches you'll see, one of them being arguably the greatest you might ever see.
I'm trying to take out of my thinking the whole thing about people thinking Roman was pushed down their throats. I'm trying not to think of that and just base it purely on what was on screen.
I've always liked Roman. I've
I've been up and down with him. And that's because I've been up and down on him. I'm veering towards Omega.
I'm struggling to pick. I think I would lean towards Roman.
I've never seen Kenny Omega get bashed to the white meat on the biggest stage in the world, and then after eating like 4 or 5 F5s, get beat when he clearly should have won.
That was I think that the angriest I've been.
I remember that exact video of, I think it was Josh, Jeremy, Rich, James, and maybe one or two others where you were watching it. And I remember Josh's reaction saying, I remember Josh's reaction saying, like, I don't like Roman, but my God, they've done him dirty here.
They've never done that to any of their top guys ever before. Kenny Omega has benefited from the, a lot of people didn't like that he didn't get pushed to what they thought were his, potentials in Japan. He got pretty high, but, people wanted him to be Okada-esque, and that never really happened. But he never got treated like Roman Reigns. And the other thing that solidifies it for me is, like, I've seen Roman have great matches, but I've seen him go out there and miss over the past decade. I've never seen Kenny Omega miss. Ever. He never misses. It is the craziest fucking shit. This guy never misses. Never seen him have anything below very good over the whole decade, whether it was as a junior tag team with Ibushi, in DDT, as a junior in New Japan, or, as a main eventer in New Japan. Like, the guy just produces classics, and I can't really say that about Roman.
Yeah, I'm going with Kenny Omega here.
Oh,
It's down to you, Clive, and then if you do, I've already asked Rich.
who have you picked, Ricky?
I went Roman. I think, I know in-ring is king, as I always say. I just can't get away from the fact that it's Roman Reigns and he's the biggest star in the biggest wrestling company in the world.
And that's a valid argument.
I can't get past that.
And I'll add peaks into this one as well. And Omega's peak arguably was the Okada stuff. But in terms of all-round presentation over the last few months, like, it's shocking how good that stuff is. So I'm going to go for Roman Reigns as well. But I think I've got a funny...
I don't know why you guys picked Rich. You should have picked, like...
Yeah. Should have asked someone else, shouldn't have.
Yep.
Damn you, Rich. Rich went with Roman Reigns. No,
Really?
He did. He went
Did?
with, yep.
You're lying.
No, he went with Roman.
Wow.
No,
I don't know if you. No, you probably can't see the. So I'll take a screenshot and send it into the messenger group.
Wow.
Wow.
What kind of shenanigans is this?
Wow, this will work.
Rich went McKennedy.
Of course he did. There's no way. Like I couldn't. That's not possible.
Yeah, what's this? Stop
Like,
the fraud.
He didn't even elaborate. The only reason he seemed to give here was Kenny went into the Observer Hall of Fame this year. Roman fell off the ballot. Lol. Like, I think that is his reasoning.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
To be fair, I do think Roman Reigns will be in the Hall of Fame eventually.
Oh, damn, why did I switch? Here we go.
And then I just texted him and he said, I was like, you picked Roman over Kenny? He said, no.
Clive, your worst dream may become a reality because you might need to pull for the only WWE guy left.
And this
John
one's
Cena.
really hard, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I've known that this one's coming because I've been seeing it in my head and I'm like, I'm dreading this one.
I was hoping it was going to be Roman Okada, just for at least we finally get to see that matchup of some sort somewhere. But Final Four, match number 1, we have Tanahashi, John Cena.
Man. Now that's a match I would love to see happen. Oh, man.
We're down to the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
I honestly, it's really tough because, I mean, I will throw it out there. I think Tanahashi is the wrestler of the decade in Japan, even above Okada. But I think John Cena is the wrestler of the decade in America for the 2010s. So I really don't know. I think overall, I think I am just, I have to take Tanahashi based on the body of his work. But these two guys have so many parallels in terms of like when they debuted, how long they've been around, what they did for their companies, how long they were the faces of it, how many big performances and title reigns they had during the time. Like, it's really tough. The one thing I will say though is John took time off throughout the decade at the latter end, the tail end, and Tanahashi never really has ever done that. Even when his biceps got ripped, even when he like pulled stuff in his back and his legs and his knees and his neck, it's never. I mean, Cena never did that.
Tanahashi's real never give up.
John split and ran for Hollywood.
I think I take Tanahashi because he has a full decade, and I don't think John Cena does.
Oh, Tanahashi all the way.
Oh,
Like,
we don't need to go to Rich then. I was going to go Cena. This kind of similar argument for Roman, because for like 5 years, outside of the great wrestling, he was the biggest wrestling star in the world. And I don't even know if you can call him a wrestling star anymore, if I'm honest. That would be the only reason I would side with Cena.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling I'm going to lose out here.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Tanahashi. Like Josh was saying, like they literally have so many parallels. They're pretty much on equal footing. But I think the thing that puts it over for me, I think, is it's you're saying, Ricky. You know, the in ring is king.
Yep.
I mean, Cena, he's had his great matches, but bell to bell, Hiroshi Tanahashi, I think, is a better professional wrestler, bell to bell, than John Cena is, and has had more classics than Cena.
Cena had great matches for 1.5 years.
Well, that's not true. Every year he'd have like one really great match.
Yeah.
No, I slag Ricky off for he's constantly marking out for the US Open Challenge. But
I love
He
it.
had like 6 straight weeks.
see,
Like, he had, and I keep saying it, he had 2 back-to-back weeks with Cesaro, which I'm pretty sure closed draw.
Matches are awesome.
Like, they were, and Sami Zayn, which I think Sami Zayn popped his shoulder in his entrance.
Yeah.
Like, the Cesaro matches were fucking awesome.
Well, remember also the match with him and Rollins and Lesnar at the Royal Rumble.
Rumble.
Incredible.
The 3 with Owens, especially that first one.
Did they have a match with Neville, the U.S. champion? Yep.
Yeah, plus the Rollins feud, the SummerSlam match. I mean, to me, that was Cena's best career year, and I thought he was the wrestler of the year that year, 2015.
yeah,
Plus-
SummerSlam
Plus that
AJ Styles.
unbelievable match with Undertaker as well.
I don't remember that.
No one wants to remember that. Right, so
Nah,
Tanahashi here.
Right. There are gods in the world then. John Cena's gone.
And they're Japanese, these gods.
Well, I mean, Kenny Omega's Canadian.
Well, I just mean in terms of this matchup. There we go. Kenny Omega versus Okada for the finals. For the
Make it
last
very
spot in the
simple
final.
for everybody because we've discussed them both ad nauseum. I'm going Kazuchika Okada pretty easily in this one, mainly because it is based off the decade. Now, Okada wasn't active the whole decade the way Kenny was, but he was on top every year since 2012. He was on top, having nothing but classics, and Kenny was great, but he didn't do that.
I'm going for Kevin Owens.
Not an option.
That's the wrong KO.
6 months ago, we would have finessed a certain Glaswegian into this conversation somehow.
Who?
Yeah, he won't be mentioned anymore.
I don't know who.
And he's talking about Joe Coffey.
Oh.
Yes, still say it's funny.
Nah, I will go. Yeah, Okada as well. Kind of similar reasons for Josh. Just that little bit higher peak, and as Josh said, like the guy for so long as well, and obviously had that awesome 2-year reign in there as well. Like the Omega matches, Tanahashi matches, AJ, Naka. There's so many to pick from.
Aye, Okada for me as well.
And I think, and this is going to sound really, really strange. Last year's G1, the opening match where you guys went to, night one you went to, I think I remember messaging Jeremy just saying, like, seeing Okada and seeing Tanahashi, it was like, it felt like looking at Okada, you're looking, it was like, wow, he looks like a star. Like, I just felt that match stood out so much because it just felt like a big, big fight. That's something, like, just little things like that always stick in my mind, and I got that impression from both of those guys, but especially Okada on that night during that match. That stuck with me for quite a while.
Yeah, that was an awesome match to watch live. But yeah, I'm going to go with you guys. I'll go with Okada.
Well, then it's down to the final two.
Which is arguably the rivalry of the decade already.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys know, too, since we're on before we move on. I would have taken Daniel Bryan over Kenny Omega.
Why? Without a shadow of a doubt for me.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, man. Some of these guys got lucky with the pairings.
Oh, definitely.
It was
Definitely. Like, there was a couple of ones in the first round that was just, fuck. Like, you just didn't want them to be paired up together at all. Now, if I didn't delete the spreadsheet, then
That's
I
like
could
me
tell
and
you.
Jeremy had to fight each other on the first round of the Quiz Time Invitational.
That's right. Oh, that was intentionally done.
Should have been the main event.
Oh, here we go. Final matchup. Tanahashi, Okada. I already have Richie's pick.
I'll just say this. At the end of last year, or at the beginning of this year, Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer newsletter released their New Japan Wrestler of the Decade, or actually just Wrestler of the Decade in general. And when I examined all the numbers and all the matches and the business they did, I disagreed with him because they picked Tanahashi. And I thought, even though Tanahashi had a full decade, I think Okada has had the stronger decade and been on top for a longer period and had more great matches and done more business than Tanahashi. For that reason, even though he's probably my favorite active wrestler today, I have to go against Tanahashi and pick Okada.
That was a very pensive there.
And it's for those reasons. He had more great matches in the decade. He held the title for a lot longer. He had more title defenses. He had more Wrestle Kingdom main events. He had more main events in general, and he drew more money. And I think he won Wrestler of the Year more times, too.
I think even mirroring their kayfabe story where Okada eventually took over Tanahashi,
Yes.
I think as this decade has went on, that has been the case in real life business, critical acclaim.
They made their names off of each other.
Yep.
Or at least Okada did.
Yeah, I mean, Josh lays out the perfect case there. It's hard to argue against that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go Okada.
Oh, I thought he was going to say, but I'm going to argue the case.
Well, and you know, it's close though. It's not by a wide margin. It's not like Okada did way more than Tanahashi. It's not. It's small margins. Really, they're negligible.
Clive, are you going to make it interesting?
No, it's 1:15 at night here. No, the answer's Okada.
I think what Josh said was pretty much perfect. And out of just to let you know what Rich picked.
He picked Tanahashi, I bet.
Yeah.
Yep. He did. So there you go, folks. According to Ricky and Clive, Keeping It Strong Style, and Rance Morris of Outsider's Edge, your wrestler of the decade is Kazuchika Okada.
I think despite all the hot takes, the shock picks, the politicking tonight, gentlemen, cough. I think with Okada being the outright winner of the decade, that I can't find fault in that, and I don't think many will.
Yeah.
Even objectively, that's like fair enough.
I think what would have made it slightly more interesting was if John Cena just wrestled a little bit more for another year or so, and if we managed to get Cena versus Okada maybe in that final, I think that would have been really, really interesting. But I think Cena's last 4 years or so, whatever it is, just kind of ultimately hurt him in the end. Just not being around.
You could say the same thing about Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
If he hadn't taken that time off, I don't know what would have happened at that point. But this has been awesome.
Yes, this was good.
Clive, I'll leave the plugs and whatnot and the goodbyes to you since you do it so eloquently and amazing every single week.
I'll crack the jokes around here.
Oh, go ahead.
I said, I'll crack the jokes around here, Ricky.
I was going to say, I'll leave all the other plugs on our side to Jeremy as well. So.
Well, Jeremy, why don't you give us your details?
Yeah, you guys can follow us on Twitter at KI Strong Style. Follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. Keeping It Strong Style. We drop either very late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning right here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. So you can subscribe, get all the great shows that we have here on the network, including Ricky and Clive and all the great stuff that we have here. Just be on the lookout for a lot of the year-end stuff that we're going to be doing. By the time you guys are hearing this, I think our Wrestle Kingdom preview will be dropping. We're going to have Chris Samsa from Voices of Wrestling and Sport Pro Wrestling on to preview Wrestle Kingdom 15. So that should be very exciting. By the time you're hearing this too, the awards will be announced for Keeping It Strong Style, our 4th annual Keeping It Strong Style Year-End Award, and we're having Rich Craich from Voices of Wrestling flagship on to announce those awards for us. So I know this is kind of in the future for some of this stuff. So by the time you're hearing this, go back and check out all the great stuff that we're doing here at Keeping It Strong Style.
So busy few weeks ahead for you there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's the most exciting time of the year for them. And not because it's Christmas.
I know.
Well, technically it is Christmas because Wrestle Kingdom's just fast approaching.
Yeah.
So we've been the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, where you'll find other shows such as Keeping It Strong Style, as you've just heard, One Nation Radio, Grown Men Watch This Shit, Great Match Generator, All Things Elite, 8-Bit Suplex Podcast, and last but not least, the Grave Consequences Podcast. Shout out to you, Caleb.
Bring back the Wrestling Wash.
Bring back Bastard Bolden.
The greatest 2 episodic run in the history of
our sport.
Of our industry.
We need to do our sport. We need to do a throwback episode of SMC.
To get all parties to sign contracts for that one, I think.
Yeah. That'll be unsanctioned.
I think you'll have Oasis will get back together before SMC runs again.
Who?
Oasis.
Oh.
You can go to the podcast app of your choice, preferably Apple Podcasts, and give us a nice 5-star review. Help us with the algorithms. Head over to socialsuplex.com where you can find these podcasts and their columns, and you can get them sent directly to your email inbox by pressing the subscribe button. If you head over to the show notes on your pod app, you'll see links to Pro Wrestling Tees, where you can get some Social Suplex t-shirts, donation pages if you want to donate to the network as a whole or individually to Ricky and Clive. Still looking for a webcam, listeners. We are at the Wrestling Sphere Circle on Facebook, and last but not least, we are at Ricky and Clive on Twitter. Jeremy, Josh, thanks very much for bringing us out of this horrendous year. I hope you guys have a good start to your new year. Obviously, with Wrestle Kingdom round the corner, it's going to be a good one.
Awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Ricky, have a wonderful new year.
Yeah, you too. I'll probably speak to you
in about 5 minutes.
Yep.
Thank you guys for having us on.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, guys. We appreciate it.
Right. Speak to you later, ladies and gents, and we'll speak to you in the new year.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you next time.